Hello, hello, one and all. Welcome back to the most unprofessional podcast ever recorded in the United States or anywhere in this world. Welcome, my indecent, my seekers of the indecent lifestyle and all that good stuff. Welcome back to the Indecent Exposure Show. I think we're on episode 6. Are we on episode 6? Let me check real quick. Let me check. I'm just checking, you know. Let me see. Is it episode 6? Nigga, show me. No, it's episode 7. Sorry, welcome to the Indecent Exposure Show, episode 7. Today, I wanted to talk about DC Rebirth. You know, it's been a long time coming. Initially, I was gonna do Marvel Now and DC Rebirth podcast, but it's kind of late, and DC Rebirth might take as long as it's gonna take, which is gonna be a very long time. So I figured just split them up. So I'll have another video out soon enough, but for right now, just DC Rebirth. So with DC Rebirth, it comes out after Superman number 52 and Darkseid War. So I have to talk about those first. So basically, in Darkseid War, the daughter of Darkseid, Grail, goes and she finds the Anti-Monitor. Now, this is not exactly, the Anti-Monitor isn't exactly the same from Crisis on Infinite Earths, but you know, you don't need to know that story to actually know this one. It's nice if you do know it, it gives you a better appreciation, but not necessary. So the story opens up with her going to find the Anti-Monitor, and she convinces him to kill Darkseid because the Anti-Monitor is basically immortal. He keeps having to destroy planets and destroy life, and he's getting tired of it. So he figures if he kills Darkseid, his suffering will end. So he's in on the plan. So Grail got what she wants, and on Earth, basically Darkseid learns of this prophecy type thing, and he is killing all the Marina Blacks because she's the woman that actually orchestrated his trying to orchestrate his death. As in, Grail is her daughter. She had Grail with Darkseid, and she's trying to kill him. So he's trying to kill every Marina Black on Earth. Basically, so that's how the Justice League gets involved. One of them, they find one of the bodies, one of the Marina Blacks, because there's multiple Marina Blacks in the U.S. on Earth. So, you know, they are at the crime scene, and then Grail shows up, and then they get into a confrontation, yada yada yada. That's how it goes. I didn't read every issue of Darkseid War, because honestly, it really ain't that important. Honestly, it really ain't. The ending is the most important part, but you know. So I read the beginning and I read the ending. So where that goes is they end up on Apocalypse, and they're actually endued with certain powers. They all become new gods, and so to say, they all become new gods, except Wonder Woman, because she's technically already a god. So let me see. Green Lantern became the god of will. Shazam became the god of gods. Batman became the god of knowledge. Flash became the god of death. Like, he actually fused with the Black Racer itself. And then there's Superman, the god of strength, and then Batman, the god of knowledge, and all that shit. So that was basically it. I don't think Aquaman was too involved with that, but they all become gods basically, and the Anti-Monitor and Darkseid fight it out, and the Anti-Monitor manages to kill Darkseid. He actually manages to kill him, and you know, you would think that would be the end of it, but no. He ends up turning his sights on the Justice League and Earth, and so basically he's freed of being the Anti-Monitor. Now he's just Mobius. So he's free to being the Anti-Monitor. He's just Mobius now. And he goes to Earth to fight the Justice League, and the Justice League opposes him. And at this moment, the crime syndicate, who we hadn't seen since Forever Evil, actually shows up, which is just compiled of Grid. Mind you, he doesn't have a body. It's Grid, it's Volthoom, who is still in Jessica Cruz's ring, because she has a Green Lantern ring, so that's still the ring. It was also Owlman, Superwoman, and Ultraman, who's in a weakened state after the events of Forever Evil. So Superwoman is pregnant, and while they're fighting Mobius, the Anti-Monitor, the baby becomes born. And this is the moment that Grail had been waiting for, because she wanted to use the power of the baby in order to actually beat everybody. She wanted to kill everyone, because Grail struggles with her evil half that she got from Darkseid. She basically got the good half from her mother and the bad half from her father, and she has trouble controlling that. And so she wants to use the baby to actually destroy everyone. And so in short story, Ultraman gets killed by Mobius. Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is also part of the Justice League around this time, and he also becomes a god. So he comes down to Earth, and Ultraman gets killed by Mobius. He gets his powers sucked away, and then Lex Luthor also gets his powers sucked away by Mobius, and so they're fighting it out. And at this point, Grail kidnaps Steve Trevor in an attempt to use him, because she believes him to be the first man to ever set foot on Themyscira, which is Wonder Woman's birthplace and her birthplace as well. When she finds out that she's wrong, and she later takes away the power after he unsuccessfully after he failed to actually kill the Justice League. And so they're doing all that. Mobius manages to get killed. Honestly, this is a good event, but it's nothing worth going into too much detail, so I'm just getting along with it. Mobius is killed. So yeah, at this point, Darkseid's death, Mobius is killed, and everyone's fighting Grail now. Everybody's going against Grail because Superwoman died in childbirth, and Ultraman's dead. So the only syndicate members left are Grid and Owlman. And so everyone is fighting Grail. And so at this point, Hal Jordan uses his Green Lantern ring to actually help Batman get out of the Mobius chair, which is what Mobius used and what Metron used until Batman took it away from him many issues earlier. And so basically, then Owlman manages to get into the chair with Grid, and he just disappears. Grid integrates himself into the chair, and this could be very important later on, but we haven't seen it yet. But they are all fighting, and Grail manages to use some ritual to actually resurrect Darkseid as her slave from the body of the baby, because this baby she was conceived with Mazhaz, which is the Alexander Luthor of Earth 3, the evil Earth, and he died in Forever Evil. And so she used that body to actually create a new Darkseid, and that Darkseid is actually defeated. It's all defeated. And so, long story short, yada yada yada, Jessica Cruz becomes a new Green Lantern because she takes off the ring that Volthoom infested. So she has her very own Green Lantern ring. And that happened directly right after the battle was finished with. So we find out a few things. We find out that Wonder Woman actually has a sister, because at this point it had been known that she did not have any siblings. And I'm sorry, as a brother. Fuck am I saying? Wonder Woman has a brother because only women are on Themyscira, so that's a very important thing. So going into her series, that's kind of what the plot point's going to be. But going back to this event, so everything's resolved on Earth, and so we go to the moon, where Metron and Owlman are meeting, and Owlman is sitting in the chair, actually talking to Metron, and they're discussing something, and then Owlman uses the chair. He goes into the chair and he sees something, and right as he sees it, he says he's coming, and at that point he gets eviscerated, just like blown up. Both of them do, Metron and Owlman. And we can only guess that this guy is Dr. Manhattan. Now mind you, the chair is the only thing that's unscathed. That chair, only thing unscathed. We don't actually see Dr. Manhattan at this time. We still haven't seen Dr. Manhattan barely at all. But it's it's heavily implied that it's him. But the important part is that Grid is still in that chair, so we have no idea what happens in that chair. What happened with that chair, because Grid is still in there. So Grid saw everything, but we haven't seen him since, and I'm pretty sure we won't see him for a long time coming. So we go, and that's basically the end of the event, as we find out, and then we get to Superman number 52, which is the last issue of Superman before it got rebooted, into Rebirth. Which Rebirth isn't really a reboot. It's just an attempt to make comics more fun again. Because, DC had this whole, comics have to be dark for a long time coming. And so now they're trying to make their comics more positive, more light in the comics per se. So Geoff Johns says. So Superman 52, we find out that due to Superman's gaining power on Apocalypse, turning him into the god of strength, because he looked like this black and white yin-yang thing, which was weird to see in a comic with all color. So he basically becomes that, and due to his exposure to that power, he's dying. And so in the Superman issues up to this, we find out that the pre-Flashpoint Superman has actually come to this Earth. He's come to the New 52 Earth. So we have, and then another Superman shows up, which looks like he's just a weird Superman. So he comes and he approaches pre-Flashpoint Superman, which pre-Flashpoint Superman is no fucking joke, because this guy is the strongest Superman. This is the Superman that fought Doomsday. This is the Superman that fought Doomsday, died, and then came back to life. This is the guy who used to bench press planets for fun, and he wouldn't get tired. Like, with no yellow sun, he wouldn't get tired literally for days. So the third Superman actually goes up against the pre-Flashpoint Superman, because the pre-Flashpoint Superman is there with that universe's Lois Lane and his son Jonathan Kent, who's also inherited his powers. So they were trying to live under the radar, not being involved in anything. And so that Superman comes and attacks pre-Flashpoint Superman. And pre-Flashpoint Superman tries to actually, get his family to safety. Around the same time, the New 52 Superman actually comes to the pre-Flashpoint Superman's aid. And they manage to actually kill the third Superman. And right after this, pre-Flashpoint Superman goes back with his family. They share a little moment, and then Batman and Wonder Woman, who was with New 52 Superman, is they're there with him because he's weak. These are his final moments. And so just a crew of people show up, like almost a lot of people that Superman has known over the years. And so Superman dies due to his disease, due to him dying. So he finally dies. And that is how the pre-Flashpoint Superman takes the place, or he's going to take the place of the New 52 Superman, which is why Superman number 52 is important to Rebirth. And so DC Universe Rebirth opens up with us in the Batcave, and Bruce Wayne is actually looking at pictures of Superman because he misses him. This is still the New 52 Superman. This is not pre-Flashpoint anybody else. However, it's narrated by someone else, someone that we find out later on. And so basically we find out that this is Wally West. And so Wally West is trapped within the Speed Force, basically. So when Flashpoint happens, everybody thought that, you know, that was the result of the New 52, because it basically blended the time streams together, which is not true. We find out that 10 years was basically taken away from every superhero, and that is why we have the New 52, because in the New 52 everyone was younger than their pre-Flashpoint selves, and so that's how we see it. And so we find out it's Wally West, and he's actually trying to get out of the Speed Force, because he's been trapped in there for a long time. So he tries to get out of the Speed Force. So he goes to people that he had very strong connections with in the pre-Flashpoint continuity. And so the first one he goes to is Batman, because he's trying to warn him. He's trying to warn anybody about the threat, you know, that 10 years are missing, and that something basically altered all of reality, and that they have to go stop it because the threat is not over. So he goes to him, and he doesn't actually know who he is, because everyone's basically forgotten who Wally West is, or that Wally West, because the Wally West of the New 52 is the cousin of pre-Flashpoint Wally West. So everybody knows that Wally West, but no one knows this one. And so once he realizes the connection isn't strong enough, he actually gets sucked back into the Speed Force. But before he goes, he actually tells Bruce to talk to Barry, because at the end of Flashpoint, Barry Allen brings a letter from Thomas Wayne, you know, Bruce Wayne's father, who was the Batman of Flashpoint. He tells him to ask him about the letter, you know, so he can actually establish some type of connection, like understand how time got fucked up. And so he's gone. So we see it, he's gone. And so he gets sucked back into the Speed Force, and we're going through Barry's, you know, his life, what happened all the way up until, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Then Barry died, and he became the Flash, and then Barry came back, I think around Final Crisis, and then he's going into Flashpoint, and that is when 10 years got taken. So the next one he goes to an old man, which I can only say seems like Jay Garrick, but I'm not really sure if it's Jay Garrick, because, you know, Jay Garrick doesn't really remember. He's part of the Justice Society, and I'm not really sure. Johnny, or this could be Johnny Quick. I don't know. It's a very weird timeliney thing, but he doesn't actually have the connection either, because he's basically losing his mind. Then the next one he goes to, I'm just telling the main story, because they have a lot of other plot points, which is like the Atom, you know, Ray Palmer, which will come out later on most likely. They're doing something with him. We don't know where the hell he is. Then we see the Blue Beetle, which we'll see later on. You know, he's Dr. Fate comes in and basically tells Ted Cord that the Scarab is magic. It's not actually, you know, alien or anything else like that. Then it goes into Teen Titans. Then it goes into Green Lanterns. And then it also goes into they're basically a part where Aqualad from Young Justice, his mom comes into his room, and she just basically says, you know, Jackson, you're not natural, what you do? And he's like, what are you talking about? You talking about when I swim? He's like, no, me have no problem with your swimming. He's like, no, me talking about the boys. The boys me talking about. You're not natural. What you do with the boys? He's like, oh, I only have a boyfriend. I'm not a hoe. I don't fucking go around fucking all different type of dudes. And so I fucking love that. And my friend nicknamed that moment Bati Fish. He named him Bati Fish. I fucking dying from that. But yeah, so then we get to one of the more important plot points, which is Pandora. We see Pandora, and she's on the run from someone, and she actually gets cornered. And so basically she's saying, you know, they will stop you, you know, this isn't the end, you can't hide what you've done, yada yada yada, all that shit. Then we see her also blown up, and she's blown up in blue, you know, in an explosion of blue light, which is Dr. Manhattan's, you know, powers. That's exactly how his powers kind of work. It leaves you in a blue mess. And so she's dead, which is kind of weird because apparently Pandora was immortal. She was cursed with immortality because she's the one who opened Pandora's box. You know, she let out sin, and so she let out evils on the world, and so she was cursed to immortality. And supposedly she's not allowed to die. But, you know, he killed her, which kind of shows that this might have been Dr. Manhattan, because Dr. Manhattan is really that powerful to be able to do some shit like that. Yeah. So let me get on it. And then everybody is actually at the spot where Superman died. Like every hero. We see Steel, we see Firestorm, Martian Manhunter, Raven, Starfire, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, Vixen, Captain Atom, Beast Boy, Cyborg and Shazam, and then there's a Black Canary, Green Arrow. So we see all of them there because it's a global event. The strongest hero on your planet gets killed, then you know everyone's gonna be there. And so they start going into how things felt different, which they teased to the Green Arrow and Black Canary series, whereas in the New 52 they kind of kept Green Arrow and Black Canary away from each other, because Black Canary had her own series where she was a rock star, and she was also in the Birds of Prey series, while, you know, Green Arrow had his own series, which is mostly written by Jeff Lemire. I strongly advise you to actually read that run, because Jeff Lemire is a fucking great writer. So then it cuts to pre-Flashpoint Superman, who's talking about his New 52 doppelganger, his death. And so they're basically saying, you know, is he gonna come back from the dead? And, you know, he has no idea, honestly. So they go on, and then he's approached by someone in a hood, and who is basically telling him, yeah, you know, I'm coming to warn you, you know, you're coming to warn you, be ready, something is gonna happen along the line. He's like, yeah, you're not what you are, and neither was the fallen Superman and all that shit. And it's Mr. Oz. So that's kind of like a nod to the fact that he's Ozymandias. And Ozymandias is also from the Watchmen universe, the same as Dr. Manhattan. And supposedly he's the smartest man, you know, on the planet in that world. So we honestly have no clue about his powers yet. You know, we're going to see that. Then it cuts to Aquaman and Mera, you know, coming together. And this is kind of that love thing it's kind of that love thing that Geoff Johns was talking about, but it's actually important to the story because they come together and he proposes to her. Aquaman proposes to Mera, and so Barry Allen is still in the Speed Force, and he's observing everything that's happened, you know, with the Superman burial, everything. And so he sees this, and this inspires him to go to another person, which is Linda Park. You know, Linda Park, she's a reporter who the Flash married in the pre-Flashpoint continuity. And so she's trying to get in to see the Superman, evidence site. And so the Flash shows up to her, and then he's just basically telling, oh, you know, I'm back, because the connection supposedly was strong enough for him to actually come back, because he loved this woman, you know. So he's telling, yo, it's Wally, you know, take my hand, you know, I love you very much, and all this shit. And so she's just basically like, I don't know you. And then he's just like, fucking, I got curved. And that was all of it. That's literally it. As I look at it, he's like, oh god, he's just in pain. And so he gets brought back into the Speed Force. And if it wasn't so sad, that would have been fucking hilarious. Then he's thrown back into the Speed Force. And, you know, we see more panels of other series that are going to happen. And he's just reaching out to everyone that he can. He's reaching out to Cyborg. He's even reached out to Captain Boomerang. He reached out to Dick Grayson. And the more he tries to reach out, the more his body actually just breaks down into the Speed Force. He's becoming energy for the Speed Force. And so he manages to see, you know, his cousin Wally West of that world. And then that inspires him to actually go see Barry Allen. And so Barry Allen saving people, we see him in the course of saving people. And so he confronts Barry Allen. He sees him and he goes right in front of him. But he doesn't actually really do it to actually try and get out of the Speed Force. He's kind of already accepted that he's going to become one with the Speed Force. And so he's just telling him, you know, you forgot everything. You forgot me. You know, he's thanking him for saving his life, for, you know, showing him the right way when he was younger. Even though Barry doesn't remember any of this, because it's not the same Barry Allen. And so he says like one line. He just said one line, like every second was a gift, which Barry Allen told him. And so he's just like, once he's about to finally be just, you know, cease to exist, in like one of the most chilling panels ever, he just goes from being confused to, he's like, Wally? And then he reaches out into the Speed Force and actually pulls Wally West out. And I was like, oh shit, that was, yo, because when I read this comic, it was fucking amazing. I was like, holy shit. Because mind you, Wally West is one of my favorite DC characters, because when I watched Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, that was the Flash I grew up with. So, you know, I didn't really appreciate it when Wally West got changed as a character. Like, it's not the fact that he turned black, it's the fact that they changed his entire character. And I really didn't appreciate that. You know, if we had a black Wally West, but it was the same Wally West as the pre-Flashpoint, I'd have had no problems with it. But, you know, I'm glad to have the original Wally West back. And so he reconciles with Wally West. They fucking have like a beautiful moment. He's like, I'm sorry, I forgot everything. You know, I thought you forgot me. He's like, how could I ever forget you? And I'm just like, damn. Got me emotional and shit. But no. So his so Wally West's presence in the Rebirth universe, or it's still the New 52 universe, but I'm just gonna call it Rebirth, because technically it's changed now that Wally West is back. So he starts getting memories of the pre-Flashpoint universe, and so he starts getting those memories. And so they decide, yeah, we're gonna we're gonna go find out what this thing is. And so Wally West decides to actually, you know, go on his own way. He's gonna find the Titans because he wants to get the whole team back together. And Barry Allen decides he's gonna go talk to Batman because he's kind of been told. He's like, yeah, you know, Batman already kind of sensed something was wrong, so I'm gonna go talk to him. And Batman actually finds the comedian's tag inside of his Batcave, which is weird because in the in the Watchmen universe, the comedian is dead. The comedian should have been dead by this time. because the entire reason when Watchmen started in the comics, the comedian died. Basically, the comedian died. That's what set everything in motion. So it's kind of weird. So we're gonna have to see what happens, and what happens. What helps make the case that this is Dr. Manhattan. It basically shows, the clock tower, like the logo of Watchmen. It's just like nothing ends, Adrian. Nothing ends, and it's in blue. It's a blue caption, and so that was Dr. Manhattan. It kind of shows it. So that was a weird one. That was honestly a weird start, and I loved it. So it was honestly a very weird start, but I did enjoy it. It was a very great issue, and it's a very great introductory into the new universe that we're gonna see. And so far, it's been fucking amazing. So far, I just want to list off the titles. I haven't read every DC Universe Rebirth title, but I kind of just want to go down the list and give my thoughts on what I have read. So the first one I will bring up is Batman, who's written by Tom King. And so this is a weird one because it's bringing up it introduces new superheroes, which is Gotham and Gotham Girl, which I don't know who chose the names, but whatever, fuck it, it's comics, it'll work. And so this basically ensues that these are like super powered, this is a super powered couple, and they have all the basic powers: super strength, flight, mild invulnerability, and all that shit. So they want to be superheroes like Batman. Batman's basically the one that inspires them to do what they do, which I found fucking weird. Because I'm like, you're super powered, guys. What do you need Batman for? But, they're inspired by Batman to do what they do, and so Batman actually lets them, come into his city. Because back in the day, pre-Flashpoint, he probably wouldn't have let anybody come into his city. So this is a changed Batman. It's definitely a changed Batman. Because back then, Batman would have snarled at your ass. He's like, nah, nigga. Gotham is my city. Fuck you doing? Get the fuck out of here. That's pre-Flashpoint Batman. This Batman's like, oh yeah, if you want to help out, go ahead. I can't be everywhere at one time. Please. And it gets very weird later on, as in it introduces Hugo Strange, and it introduces Amanda Waller. And supposedly there's a guy who can actually control your emotions no matter how powerful you are. So it's very fucking weird. And then that leads into Night of the Monster Men, which I haven't been able to read yet. But it's a crossover that actually involves the entire Bat family, except the Teen Titans, Damian. But it does involve Batman, the Detective Comics, Batgirl, Nightwing, and basically that's basically it. And so that's the first one. Then Detective Comics. Detective Comics is a team-oriented book, which at its introduction included Batman, Batwoman, Clayface, Tim Drake, Oracle, and Orphan, not Oracle, Orphan, and Clayface, and then Stephanie Brown. Which those are all of them. The team has been gotten together because Batman realizes that everyone is being watched. And later on, we find out that that's done by Kate's father, Batwoman's father, who's a retired, well, not so much retired, but technically retired military veteran. Like, he was a great general. He's very up there with the military. This all starts with Azrael getting attacked by what is known as the Hive. And basically, the Hive is a group who was inspired by Batman, and it's being controlled and run by Kate's father. And so we don't find this out until a little bit later on. So they get the group together, train them to actually fight this new threat, because Batman realizes he can't do it alone. And then Batman gets attacked by the Hive, and he gets beaten, and he gets kidnapped and taken down to their headquarters. And so the Hive actually go to the clock tower base where Oracle actually operated from for a couple of years, after she got paralyzed as Batgirl. And so they get attacked, and that's where it's revealed that it's actually Kate's father, and she makes the choice between him and Batman because her father wanted her to actually lead the Hive. He was like training her to lead the Hive. And so she basically tells him, nah, old man, go fuck yourself, and everything. And eventually they get to the Hive base, yada yada yada, they beat the Hive. And then this is the important part, Tim Drake actually is apparently killed. As in, he's killed by drones, like in an explosion of gunfire. And he's actually, killed based on what everybody else can see. And so we get to it later on, we find out that he's not dead. He was actually taken by Mr. Oz to actually be used in the coming conflict somehow, like he's important to the conflict. And so I hope we see more of that. I really do hope we see a progression of that, because he was in a cage, and apparently there was more cages that were unfilled. So it's obvious Tim Drake will eventually be back. Because when they said that rumor, I was kind of scared. I was just like, oh, they're going to kill off my favorite Robin? My favorite Robin of all the Robins, really? They're going to kill my favorite Robin? But, he'll be back in a couple months to a couple years, most likely. And so that's it for Detective Comics right now. Then there's Batgirl. I haven't read any issues of Batgirl, because it's just not girly. It's just not what I find interesting. I will honestly give it a try, but I'm not going to buy it. But I will give it a try when I can. Then there's Nightwing, which started off very strong. He's done with the whole spiral thing. He's back as Nightwing. And that's basically it. I haven't read much of Nightwing either. I read the Rebirth title, but I haven't read the #1 or anything on. Then there's All-Star Batman, written by Scott Snyder, and I have not been able to read this either. I will eventually, but not right now. Then there's Batgirl and the Birds of Prey by Julie Benson and Shauna Benson. There's a Batwoman series, a solo Batwoman series, coming out in March 2017. Then there's Action Comics by Dan Jurgens. And this is an interesting series, because Lex Luthor basically became the ruler of Apocalypse after after Darkseid War. So he's the ruler of Apocalypse, and he has his own Superman suit with the S on it. He basically is just like, yeah, I'm gonna be a better Superman than Superman was. And so he's out protecting Metropolis. And there's an incident, there's a robbery, and Lex Luthor shows up at the scene wearing the suit and the cape, and he stops the entire thing. And pre-Flashpoint Superman is watching, and he's just like, nah, this fuck shit ain't going on no more. Nope. Nigga thought he would have gotten away with this. Nope. No, you ain't getting away with this fuck shit. Not as long as I'm alive. Nah. And so he just gets pissed, and he goes down there. He shaves off his beard and everything. And he confronts Lex Luthor, and he's just like, nigga, stop. He's like, you're not Superman. Stop trying to be Superman. As Lex is like, what the fuck you coming up on me for? I'm just trying to be a good Superman and protect Metropolis. What the fuck are you doing? And then as they're about to fight, Doomsday shows up somehow. And also more mysteriously, Clark Kent shows up. I'm not gonna say why that's fucking mysterious, because you should fucking know. So Clark Kent shows up, and Lex Luthor is like, "Come on, nigga, I know you died." He's like, "Nah, I didn't die. What are you talking about? I'm just Clark Kent." And they fight Doomsday, yada yada yada, and Mr. Oz takes fucking Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is a fucking phony in some ways. Nah, I can't watch that show. But no, Mr. Oz somehow captures Doomsday, and he's also in a cage where Tim Drake is, and so that's also going to be an important series. Then there is the Superman comic, which is basically just a team-up series between him and his son Jonathan Kent, which I find very dope because I actually like father-son comics when they're done right, and it's written by Peter J. Tomasi, who is a very good writer. So that is also one to look out for. Then there's Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka, and Greg Rucka is a very, very famous writer in the comic book world. He's been writing Wonder Woman for a while. And so it opens up, the basic premise of it is she's trying to find her brother, basically, because she got told by Marina Black, he's like, "Yeah, you got a brother." So she's basically trying to find her brother, and that's what the comic's mostly about. I've only read the first issue. I haven't been able to read the later issues. I'll probably pick them up and trade. Then there's New Superman, which is a Chinese Superman. They basically were able to genetically create their own Superman, and so that's the basic book. I was reading the first issue, and then I kind of lost it. I said, I'm not reading this after Batman and Wonder Woman, the Chinese versions, just came, and I was just like, this is too much. And they had hyphens in between. I was like, nah, this is too fucking much. Like Bat-Man and Wonder-Woman. I'm like, no, I can't do this. I can't see myself doing this. But the guy who writes it has a dope fucking name. His name is Jean Luen Yang. I'm like, that's a dope fucking name. I'll probably pick it up and trade, but I can't really keep buying individual issues. Superman. Then there's Superwoman by Phil Jimenez, and apparently Lois Lane is the Superwoman. I won't reveal too much of that because it's kind of like a plot twist later on, so you should definitely go pick that up. Then there's Supergirl by Stephen Orlando, and that's basically the story. It's the story of Kara Zor-El, who is Kal-El's cousin. I have not read her series at all, I will not lie. Then there's a Trinity comic by Francis Monopole, and that's an issue about Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. I didn't get to read that. Then Batman Beyond by Dan Jurgens, based after Convergence, which I didn't read because it was just a clusterfuck. What's his name? Batman. Terry McGinnis died. I think he was dead around that time, or he died after Future's End. So he was dead, but now he's back to being Batman, the Batman Beyond. And Tim Drake, who was Batman Beyond right before him, because when Terry McGinnis went down, Tim Drake picked up the mantle. And so basically they're in conflict now. Tim Drake is being mind controlled and shit, typical comic book shit. Then there's Aquaman by Dan Abnett, and it's very dope. It's basically Aquaman trying to improve relations between the surface world and Atlantis, and both sides are just putting pressure on him. So it's just the story of someone who's trying to keep World War III from happening, but apparently everybody else wants it, and it's a dope story. Then there's The Flash by Joshua Williamson. This is a very dope one because apparently the Speed Force has actually created new speedsters. Like the entirety of Central City has become speedsters. It started off with Flash's partner, because Flash is in forensics, so he's partnered with a police officer, and so that police officer is the first to actually gain speedster powers. Then, about an issue or two later, everyone in Central City actually gets speedster powers, so everyone's a speedster. It's a dope concept. Then, you know, we get introduced to Godspeed and all that stuff, and that's kind of where I ended off. But definitely go get that series. Then there's Green Lanterns by Sam Humphries. It's the story of Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, who just became a Green Lantern after Darkseid War. So they come together, and they're left to protect the Earth because Hal Jordan went into space to deal with space shit, which is where he's better, honestly. He's not as good on Earth as he is in space, because space and Hal Jordan is infinitely more interesting. So that's Green Lanterns, and currently they were dealing with the Red Dawn, which was Atrocitus and the Red Lanterns, and it's dope because you find out that Simon Baz can actually turn Red Lanterns normal, like he can get rid of the anger, and he got rid of the anger partly in one Red Lantern, but Jessica Cruz is fucking up because she's a rookie, and she actually turns her back into a Red Lantern. So that's where I ended up with that. Then, as I said, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, which has Hal and the entire Green Lantern Corps stories in space, and that is written by Rob Vendetti. And currently they are fighting against Sinestro. Then there's Justice League by Brian Hitch, and I'm actually kind of sad because I don't like this Justice League series. I tried to read issue 51 and I could not do it. I couldn't do it because the end of Darkseid War, which Geoff Johns wrote up until that point, he wrote issues 1 through 50. It was Geoff Johns. So now Brian Hitch is the one who's writing it, and I cannot get into the story. Like, it's just not interesting. Not interesting whatsoever, because there feels like there's no danger, no peril. So I hope it improves soon. Then there's Titans by Dan Abnett, and that is a dope series because the Wally West of pre-Flashpoint, who's now in Rebirth, he assembled his team of the old Teen Titans that he used to serve with, and so they're trying to actually find out who caused the 10 years to be missing, who fucked up the world, give or take. That's where that series is going. That's also written by Dan Abnett. Then there's Cyborg by John Semper, and I feel kind of bad because I don't give a fuck about the series. I don't give a fuck about this series whatsoever, honestly. Because Cyborg on his own is just a boring character to me. I didn't read the last Cyborg series, and then I'm not reading this one. Like, the art is good. It just bores me for some reason. And I feel so bad when I see characters that are popular and they're just boring fucking characters to me. Like, they got no characterization whatsoever. And it's even worse when it's black, when it's black characters to me, because, like, every character in comics is usually white, at least in Marvel and DC. It's usually white, and there's no problem with that. That's how they were created. But I'm like, nah, son, I'm sorry. I feel bad because I'm like, there's not that many of them in comics. Like, in the mainstream comics, it's not that many. So I'm feeling kind of bad. And then there's Teen Titans by Ben Percy. That's Damian Wayne getting his own Teen Titans team together. Fucking ends up kidnapping these niggas to actually get them together. I'm like, the fuck? I couldn't keep. I was just like, am I really gonna pick up these series? Nah, I don't know, because I love the Teen Titans and I like Damian, but I can't really get into it too much. Let me see. Then there's Justice League of America series coming, and that's written by Steve Orlando. That's not actually out yet, so I can't really say much about that. Then there's Green Arrow, which is probably my favorite Rebirth title that's come out yet. It's my favorite out of all of them because I love Green Arrow, and I love the art of the Green Arrow series. That's written by Ben Percy, and it's drawn by Otto Schmidt, and it's beautiful art. You know, whoever the colorist is fucking amazing. So that series follows the story of Oliver Queen and Black Canary, which is Dinah Lance, and I actually like it because they're one of my favorite couples in DC Comics. You know, only second to maybe Raven and Beast Boy, but they're like my favorite. So so it opens up with them actually getting introduced with each other, like from the first issue, from the jump. They said, "Nah, we putting these two together." So even from Rebirth, from the jump, they actually had them together. Like, I think the second page was her actually showing up. And I was like, shit, that's fast. But that goes from there, and they meet up and they deal with a slave group or organization, and it actually ends up being way fucking more than they bargained for. So yeah, that's a dope series. Honestly, out of all of them, I recommend that one a lot. Damn, my throat. I recommend that one a lot. I might die, guys. I might die, honestly. Then the next series is Deathstroke, written by Christopher Priest. And Christopher Priest is one of those guys where if you don't know what the fuck to do with a comic book, you just give it to him. Like, he'll either save you or you're just gonna have to shut it down. And Slade Wilson is one of my favorite characters, but I have not been feeling his last few series because I feel like they don't know how to use him. Honestly, this might be a sin, but the last Deathstroke series I really enjoyed was the one with Rob Liefeld on it. Like the last, like the New 52, the introduction, like the first series, and then the second series. I enjoyed those, and Rebirth, I haven't really been feeling it. I really haven't, because I don't know. I don't think they know how to write him. Like that series where he actually lost his eye. No, I'm sorry, where he lost. He got his youth back. Like in the first issue, he was an old man, and then later at the end of the first issue, he turned into a young man again, and he had both of his eyes. And it was a weird storyline because he didn't know how the fuck to fight with two eyes. I was just like, how do you not know how to fight with two eyes? But I mean, after decades of fighting with one eye, then yeah, okay, I can understand. You compensate, but you compensate a lot. Then the next one is Harley Quinn, which is written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, and it's just a whole bunch of silliness. Honestly, if you want a comic book that doesn't fucking stress the story so much and isn't fucking negative and just death and all that shit, you get Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is a good place to go because it's just silly. Like, I honestly go there when I really don't want to care, and it's just fun and silliness. Honestly, I recommend the holiday specials because the regular issues, they don't really tickle my fancy so much, but the holiday specials that they put out, it's fucking beautiful. Like there was a Christmas special, then there was Valentine's Day special, so I definitely recommend those. Then there's Suicide Squad by Rob Williams. I can't recommend that because I haven't read it yet, but it's supposed to be good. Then there's Red Hood and the Outlaws by Scott Lobdell. I think I can actually recommend that because it has Red Hood in it. And honestly, it's not going to be a bad series. We'll have to see where it goes, but I can recommend first issue. It's not the best thing that DC has put out, but it's worth a look. Then there is The Hellblazer by Simon Oliver, which is one of my favorites out because I love John Constantine to death. He's such a fucking ass. Like, he's such a fucking asshole. Mind you, I understand that this Constantine is never going to be as much of an asshole as the older Constantine. Like the Constantine that came out with Garth Ennis and all those guys. This isn't going to be that Constantine, but it's pretty fucking close. It's pretty fucking close for the time that we're in and what DC is allowing them to do. It's nice. We're only 2 issues in so far in October, and it's nice. It really is. It's very nice. I definitely recommend it. Definitely. Then there's the Blue Beetle, which I enjoy. I enjoy. There's only 1 issue out so far, but it's a whole lot of the Blue Beetle and Ted Cord bitching, and the Blue Beetle's name is Jamie Reyes, and I can't really get into it too much because I enjoyed it, but I'm like, am I gonna pick up too many issues of this? I don't think so. Oh, then another comic book series that is coming out is Super Sons in February, I believe, and that's going to be Batman's son Damian Wayne and Superman's son Jonathan Kent. They're getting their own series, which I honestly find very exciting because I enjoy both those characters, and so I see no reason to actually not let them both have their own comic. Oh, and a couple more things just to let people know. There's a couple one-shots. There's a Justice League Rebirth Director's Cut coming later on in October. Then there's Batman Director's Cut coming in November. All-Star Batman Director's Cut coming in December. Suicide Squad Director's Cut coming in December as well. Catwoman Election Night in November. And the DC Rebirth Holiday Special coming in December. As well as more Rebirth titles. Justice League of America, The Atom, then Vixen, The Ray, and Killer Frost. All written by Steve Orlando, who's going to write the main series. And those are all coming out in January. And then there's maybe the first real crossover, which is the Justice League versus Suicide Squad in December. And that's dope and all. I just hope the fucking I just really hope the fucking Justice League series shapes up. I really do, because I want to like the Justice League series because I like Geoff Johns so much, but I don't like this new series. I don't know if it's the change of writer, but it just doesn't feel like it's important. That's the thing. And it's Justice League. That's like your flagship book besides Batman, and I kind of want it to feel important. No. And also, one last thing that I would like to recommend, talk about, is The Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade, which is the story of how Jason Todd died in the Dark Knight Returns universe. Because at the time of the first Dark Knight Returns, Jason Todd was dead, which was the reason why Batman quit being Batman for about 10 years. And so it was a dope series. It was a very dope series. It was 1 issue. It was like a little mini book, and it's written by Frank Miller, and it shows the Joker, how the Joker actually killed Jason Todd, and all the shit. It's very gritty. It's gritty as fuck. Like, it's bloody. It's gritty. It's very in your face about the grittiness and like the time, but it's not bad. It's right before everything went to shit. So honestly, I enjoyed it because it was surprisingly good art. Because I don't like John Romita Jr. very much as an artist. I don't dig a lot of his art, but I digged his art because it felt like it fit in the Dark Knight Returns universe. It really did feel like it fit. So that's probably my recommendation. So probably what I'll do to these comic book episodes is most likely I'm gonna do, if I don't do DC and Marvel together, then I'll do independent. I'll do separate podcasts for each one. Like I'll do a DC podcast like this one, and then a Marvel podcast like what I'm doing next. And then I'm also going to do an Image podcast, like independent I'll have the main two, then I'll also have independents, and in those I'll either recommend series, talk about them, or talk about series that have recently come out, series that have been come out, my favorites, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I'm very much looking forward to doing an independent podcast though episode, because I would really love that. Honestly, I would really love that, because right now DC Rebirth has helped my interest in DC go back up, and the Marvel Now issues, they've partly helped it come back up, mainly because there's still a lot of things we don't know about since Secret Wars ended. But independent titles have been killing it so far. Also, if you have not read the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the newest ongoing series, you definitely need to. And anyway, I think I've talked enough. I did what I needed to do. It's about to be 3 a.m. I can't keep going on. I gotta sleep in these real nigga hours. I really do. So I'm gonna leave you with the word of advice. If a prostitute comes up to you and you don't want to say no, ask for a flat fee. Always ask for a flat fee whenever you're doing anything. Basically, somebody says, yeah, I'll suck your dick for $30 an hour. Well, what is your flat fee? Just ask that. Definitely saves you a lot more money. But the main thing you take from that is you did not hear that from me. Anyway, this has been The Weird Weirdo. Hope you enjoyed the episode, or whatever. Alright. Good night.